Hi there, it's Dr. JOYLYN Sparkles and welcome to your Power Hour. This is your time to put what's on your mind, on my mind, and we'll put our heads and hearts together and we'll come up with a way to go from stuck to happy as fuck in as short amount of time as possible. All right? So today is another big one. I like to jam-pack these things. We just started Love Yourself. So if you're not in yet, get in, because this is the best, most integrative, inclusive program I've ever built. Bring in naturopathic medicine, improv, comedy, all of my life experience, athletic training. So we are putting everything together to really address your mind, your body, and your spirit, because the spiritual side largely gets lost, and it has a lot to do with what we're experiencing. The relationship piece often is never touched when we're talking about weight loss or health issues, and that's a big, big component. And then how does physicality and physiology play into the emotional side, and working with all of that, because what's great about this that most people forget is we're not linear systems. We're not. So that when somebody comes up with the best plan and it goes, here's all your steps, and if you do this, you'll win. That's what we've been taught, and it's falling apart. It's breaking apart. It's not working. There's a lot of us who have extra sensitive bodies, and everything that's supposed to work doesn't, or it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, or we get the weird side effects that nobody else gets, okay? Because we're actually spherical beings. We are non-linear. But if we're spherical, meaning there's a circle, you can kind of start from anywhere and get to where you need to go. It's often just identifying what I call the center of gravity of where is the main issue you're having. Because a lot of times, even if it's displaying on the physical, the energetics is actually more of an emotional component. And so if you don't talk about that, touch that at all, it's going to be really hard to resolve, or you'll have to keep chasing symptoms and you're just not going to get long-lasting benefit, okay? So get into Love Yourselves. I'm still enrolling, and it is just phenomenal. We've already hit the ground running, but in your first coaching session, because you get group and individual coaching, we will get you caught up. No problem. And there is no way you're going to fall through the cracks, because I won't let you, okay? But one of the things that came up right away is we have to go to the fundamentals, okay? The fundamentals. Because if there's no fun, there's no fuel, and you're not going to keep going. A lot of us have been trained to just keep going, just keep digging, just keep, and we're hitting burnout. Because that's not working, because we're not getting fueled. We're not having fun. We're not getting closer to our light and the joy. And so what good is it really if it's not going to last, and if it's not actually getting more of you? I was talking about vitamin U, getting more of the truth of you into your life, okay? That's the point of this all. But what a lot of things, there's not an understanding of how we're really built and how we really work. I see this hair on top of my head. Okay, maybe I can get it to sit down and look like a little kid with a cowlick. I just have some broken off hair, so I just have a little bobber there. Thoughts and emotions. We're thinking and feeling all the time. And a lot of us have started equating ourselves with our thoughts and our feelings. I think therefore I am was one of the most tragic statements of our time, because the thinker is not the I amer, it's the observer of the thinker who is the I am. So, but when we use our English language and say, I am this, we have equated ourselves to this. I'm hungry, I am thirsty, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm confused. And we make that the totality of who we are. Some languages do a little bit better job of saying, I have hunger, I have thirst, I feel this way. And we could do better at actually using our language that way. The other thing is thoughts. We've actually become so protective and defensive of anyone else's, including our own judgment, that we've turned our thoughts into feelings, because we know feelings just happen. And you can't argue them with anybody. So we say, I feel like and I feel that all the time, instead of actually saying and being brave and bold and putting our thoughts out there. This is what I think. This is where I stand right now. This is my opinion at the moment. I welcome criticism and feedback. not always criticism. It's not always welcome, but we could even be more honest about saying this. Here's what I'm thinking, but I don't want to get immediately crushed, okay? But our thoughts and our feelings, we need to know about how these work together. And they are connected in what's called a cybernetic loop, meaning that it's almost like an infinity sign. They will loop onto each other and feed each other so that they can both keep going. It's one of the few positive feedback loops that we've got going. Emotions in and of themselves will only last 90 seconds and then they're metabolized. Because emotions are fleeting. They are wave-like often, and they just want to roll through us. They are energy in motion. They are built and designed to get us to move, to be moved by us, through us, to get us to move forward in our life. That's what emotions are really just giving us information about who we are and how we're operating in the world. Our thoughts are just electrical. They're just these connections that were being put together and it's accumulating. Now, a thought will feed an emotion. We notice that, yeah, right, JOYLYN, emotion only lasts 90 seconds. Give me a break. I've been dealing with this one for months. Because we keep feeding it with thoughts. We keep rethinking about it. We keep bringing it up and adding thoughts and narrative to it about what I should have done, what they should have done. They should have known this. It could have gone this way. It was supposed to be this way. And so we keep feeding that feeling so it keeps trying to move through us because we're not actually moving it and metabolizing it. Emotions are our physical sense of our spirituality. It's trying to get us to move. It's our souls trying to let us know this is how we need to move. But so many of us in childhood were not encouraged to have negative feelings because they're uncomfortable. And so many people are uncomfortable and don't know how to handle them that even our parents didn't know how to help us navigate and handle them. So we have all this yuck just sitting there. And so we will stuff it down with food, with exercise, with sex, with distracting ourselves in other people's business, just so we don't have to feel our own feelings. Because if we sat still, we might become aware of something unpleasant. And what's odd is sometimes some of the things that are most unpleasant is how powerful we are that we're choosing not to express. But then there's all these thoughts, these emotions will then have a chemistry. They are chemicals in our body running through. And so they will irritate, aggravate, stimulate certain nerve cells. So they have a sensation. Now, what's interesting is what your brain is doing, not your brain, your whole entire body. So when I talk about subconscious, your subconscious is housed here, the entire thing. Your whole body is hardwired subconscious. That's what it is. It's processing 400,000 pieces of information per second, whereas your conscious mind is only doing 2,000 pieces of information per second. Still really fast, but not nearly as much as the subconscious. So when you have these emotions running through you and stimulating your nervous system in different ways, what's happening is your body picks up, if the light's coming in the window at this time and this is the temperature of the air outside and this is my thirst level, the last time I felt it was, and it associates. So that's when all of a sudden you'll have a memory of, I haven't thought about that for 30 years. Or it'll make you feel unsafe and you can't figure out why because you're with your besties. But it's because at this time of day when it was this thirst level, and a breeze blew, something maybe bad or unfortunate happened. And your brain remembered that. And so you just have this. Now what we tend to do is believe our thoughts and our feelings as truth. And they're not. They are just temporary. They're almost like a thermostat. They're just telling us where we are right now. And emotions, especially when they're the lower ones, it's, hey, you're operating on a low vibe. That's it. You're a little bit disconnected from the truth of you and knowing that everything's fine. That you are held, you are safe, you are loved. You're not totally tapped into that, so you're feeling really low. And that's usually the really, really low ones, okay? Because I do believe that sadness sometimes also just indicates an investment, a caring. You cared about this and now it's gone. There's a sadness there. You care. But when we add to the story about how bad it was, how tragic something was, how we'll never get on without it, then we keep it around, and our grief is never allowed to. Grief and sadness so close. They're like the gondolier, gondolier, I don't know how you say that exactly, in the boats, in Venice. And they're trying to get you from the point of loss to the point of a rebirth. And so often we don't let them do that because we keep the story going about how bad it is. And the same will happen. You'll see it. The news was on TV and I went into almost a panic. It's all bad news because that has a higher survival rating. It's a 5-to-1, like survival rating. You pay attention to the bad stuff, you're much more likely to stay alive. But if you stay immersed in that, then that's the frequency you start tuning into, conditioning to, and resonating with. It sometimes can get hard once it starts to be a habit. It's hard to break out of that, truly have that thrival. And that's what a lot of us are feeling now, is we're feeling this crux of, I want something more, but I don't know how to have it. I want something that I can't totally explain, I can't touch or see right now, but it's as real to me as anything, but I can't explain it and I can't make it make sense. And so this reality says you can't have it until you figure that out. And this is where getting stuck then in our thoughts and feelings, and they'll loop around and we'll stay here, and you can stay here indefinitely because it's a loop. So how then do you change that? It's where you have to start to become willing to change. It's something that's so scary because nobody's really taught us the process of change. It's like you're just supposed to do it. And so what most of us have done at some point or another and multiple times is made ourselves so freaking uncomfortable, or the universe just rearranged itself and made staying the same like impossible, literally impossible, to where we had to change. But we can change sooner than that. We can just change our mind about change. And instead of it being scary, being an opening, being an invitation. And then start visiting our future and calling in the feelings and remembering our future. And say, this is how it felt when I stepped on stage and I was so excited. This is what it felt like when I met somebody who looked in my eyes and actually respected my time. This is what it felt like when I finally received a check for doing what I've always just done for free. All of these things we call into our body, and in that moment, we change the chemistry and we consciously changed our thoughts and started a different loop. Now, the thing is, we can't just do that once because this one is such a well-worn one, the one that we've been in. That's why you say stuck in a rut. It's so well-worn. We have to do this other one over and over and over, because how the nervous system works, rewiring, there is complete objectivity. The ones that stay are the ones that are used. The ones that are trimmed are the ones that aren't used. Well, if we've got a really well-worn path, it's not going to prune it away because it does not see the effects that it's having on our life. It's only seeing this is very well used. We must make it more efficient. So what we have to do is start practicing this other one so that the other one falls away by becoming obsolete. It's no longer our default. We create a new default. But this does take intention. It takes our conscious effort. But every single time we choose to switch from one to the other, it becomes that much easier, and we get that much more weight or impetus behind this new way of being. It's just a matter of practice. And then in the process of change, we have to know that it's almost like when you train a dog to stop barking, how they bark more at first, because they are used to getting the attention. So when you stop giving them attention because you're trying to extinguish something, they bark more. And it does. It gets frustrating. You have to just grit your teeth and roll your eyes and be like, I can make it through this. And you do. And they learn something new. Same with you. These old thoughts and feelings that you're saying, hey, I see what you've created. I look at my life so that it's these thoughts and feelings that created this. It's not good enough anymore. Or I just like something else just because I'm curious about something else. Things don't ever have to be wrong. But it could just be like, it's not enough, I want more. And there's no judgment about that. It doesn't have to become bad anymore. You just want new, so you got to do something new. So you have to practice, okay, I got to lift up, I got to elevate some more. And those old ones will still come up because they're coming up to go. What happened and why we stayed at the same is when they came up, we latched on and said, oh, there you are. It's almost like my balloon was going away and I grabbed it and I pulled it back to me. And so many of us, myself included, I've really been seeing this. You know, I talk about how we evolve in a spiral. So we'll revisit things over and over again until we really get the mastery and there's no charge. To where I hold on to hurt because I know it so well. And I actually don't know who I am without heartbreak because that's just been a staple in my life for so long. Now, how do I move on without that and just pretend like everything's fine and that nothing ever happened to me? Well, the fake it till you make it doesn't work because then the whole time we're telling ourselves it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's not real. What we actually have to do is face it and embrace it and say, hey, and then you can let it go. It's almost like a goodbye hug. Hey, thanks. You let me know what I cared about. You let me know I'm a caring person. Otherwise, I would have no interest or feelings about this. I cared. But I can also see that the story isn't working. It's limited. It's outdated. It was actually, for most of us, for most of our stories, it was developed in infancy or by the age of 7. And well, I'm well past the age of 7, and so I should be living past the thinking modes of a 7-year-old. It was great for 7, and it actually got me by through a lot, and so thank you. But it's outdated. It's just like updating your software on your phone or your computer. It's great. It works. It worked the whole time. But now it's slow AF, and you just need a higher speed, and you need more capacity. So you have to upgrade your software. That's exactly what you're doing. What's great about being a human being, it's all in this thing. You got the hardware and the software to do both. And in this thing here that houses the subconscious is also the temple of your superconscious. So they're both residing in you at the same time. So you are never, ever disconnected from earth or spirit. They're actually all the same because really source, there's just one. One. So it's there. And you use your conscious control to say, this is how I'd like to feel. And then you can get curious about, if I felt that way, what would I be thinking? About myself, about my life? Maybe I could reframe things, look at things a little bit different. And if it doesn't come easy, which I totally understand because we've been stuck in a rut for a while, ask somebody for help. Because it's always easier for somebody else to see things a little bit more objectively about your life than theirs because it's not theirs. That's how we all. That's the benefit of community, of friendship, of having a coach. Mine helped me out the other day because she said, list a goal you've achieved. Like, never achieved one. She's like, okay, just tell me some stuff that you've done. So I listed off like 8 things right off the bat. Oh, I've done this, 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 and this. She's like, these are things that people will wait 30 years to do, and you just did them. And I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't hard. Because I didn't set a goal. When I set a goal and try to meet it, so you might realize that the ways that used to work aren't working for us in the same way anymore. So it's time for us to update our ways of being and operating and doing things. Our ways of talking about ourselves, our ways of viewing ourselves, our ways of communicating with and through other people. It's just time for new. We can't do that by dragging in the old. And in that, it's getting stuck in that cybernetic loop and continuing the same thoughts and feelings over and over and over because that's who and how we know who we are. Because I've been this way for so long. So there is a big piece right there, the cybernetic loop. But what's great about this is since it's a loop, you can start anywhere. So you can start with your feelings and call on the feelings that you want to have, bring those in, start practicing feeling those, conditioning your body. Your thoughts will naturally change. If you find that your emotions are all over the place and you have a hard time pinning those down, you can start changing the way that you think. And the way that you can do that the easiest is by having a mantra. Some people like affirmations, and it's sometimes just semantics to change how you talk about, how you phrase them. But I like to use questions because questions are invitations. They're almost just like prayers. And for me, I've noticed that when I'm in down, why can't I do this? Why is this so hard? Why is this happening? Why? And why can't? Why doesn't it? And it's a why and a negative. And I'm like, well, when you really think about it, you're actually asking the universe, why can't this happen? And so it delivers. It says, here's why. Because it loves me that much, it's going to give me exactly what I asked for. That's what I call a broken question. So we change it into a wholesome question, and you say, why is it so easy to let go of the past? Why is it so easy for me to let go of the past? Why is it so easy for me to change? Why do I love changing so much? Why is this going so much better than I thought? And it sounds absurd and almost ridiculous at first, but it's completely equivalent to what we've been doing. All we did was switch the can to a can't, a hard to easy. It's just a flip of a word. And by that, we'll call in a different experience. Another suggestion that I love, Florence Scovel Shinn, and why I changed, I said in 2022, resolutions are out, rhymes are in, having a rhyme or just a little phrase that clicks so that you can repeat it over and over. Because again, what trauma did, what childhood programming did, was they just took a time when you were sensitive and imprinted something. But that alone won't create a habit. You actually have to repeat it over and over. It's just, it created a sensitivity opening. And then we repeated it, and whatever thought and feeling became habitual. Now we're dealing with it. Well, that's what's great, is that's why there are quantum healing techniques. Because instead of trauma putting it in, we create a quantum experience where you're going up and getting back into theta brainwave patterns where you're really open to new information, to where we can put something else in. But then the reason that you can't go to a energy healing or anything like that and it doesn't work once and for all is because you have to make it the new way of being. You have to make it the new you. You have to make it a habit, so you have to repeat it. So whatever that gets put in, you have to reinforce it until it becomes your new default setting. And so you can do that. That's what a lot of meditation, mindfulness practices are. A lot of the relaxation, they're slowing the brain waves down, because when they're racing in the survival pattern, you can't, it's too fast and it's too frantic. There's not opening for you to absorb. That's, your brain is functioning, it narrows the focus, it shortens the time span of that it's interested in, it's right now, because it's trying to survive. If we're going to learn and change our future, we have to open up. We have to actually learn new ways of self-soothing so we can slow our breathing, calm our breath. And again, because this is all looping, you start whatever is accessible. And because we're spherical, circular, spiral, we're going to get there. So that if it's your breathing and you just take a slow breath to create a pattern interrupt in your subconscious and say, wow, slow down. So one of the ones I use is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Because I like to go fast. And a lot of us are fast processors and we did really well in school, so we like our speed. But our speed's actually tripping us up right now because it's not giving us any opening to have a new thought. So slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Sometimes you have to go, you take a step back to take 3 steps forward. We know all the opposite, but again, the other side is also true. It's dancing, but slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I'm trying to think of some of the ones she has. My ship comes in over a calm sea, because I say you have to relax to receive. You look at football players, they don't hold their hands out real stiff. This isn't how they're going to catch something. That's how you bat things away. No, good future, I will not have you. You relax and receive and say, oh my goodness, I would have never thought to bend down and tie my shoe at the instance somebody was swinging a baseball bat and I didn't see it. It'll be weird things like that. Oh my goodness, I, didn't think, but I really, just something about this Starbucks. I just wanted to go in and somebody I knew from 15 years ago was there and we just had the nicest chat and I felt, so filled up. All these little things, but you got to relax to receive them and then you have to say yes. And we have to do this, but as we start doing this, every time we start doing this, We add a little, like those, I think of like the little busy beads or the tickers in the old accounting thing. You add one little more chip to this side of this is the ease of my life. This is my magical life that I'm creating. This is the health and happiness that I'm creating. Every time I say no to that cookie, even though I know I want it, but then I witness that in 20 minutes, I'm not even thinking about a cookie, so that I know that even cravings are like thoughts and emotions and they will pass and I won't die. Oh, I just did that one time. Okay, so that when it comes up again, you might be like, I remember last time I didn't die and I actually felt better when I went to bed because I felt stronger in myself. I think I can do it again. Now, I also like to say, if you did it once, you can do it again. It may not be the very next time, but you keep doing it. Because every time you get experience under your belt, you strengthen your foundation. You make it easier to choose in the direction of your priority. Now with the slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and I'm talking about how so much of this is happening subconsciously, because our subconscious helps us so that we're not still thinking about breathing and moving at the same time, and we can tie our shoes and just move along instead of really like our little kiddo, having to really sit and loop and, oh, how do I do this? It makes things habitual so that we can do them like this. So we don't have to focus on putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush. That's a smooth movement, and then there we are, we're done. We want to make the positive thinking that easy too, but here's the thing. The subconscious has absolutely no imaginative capacity. It can only remember. It can only remember and associate, and that's where, and it's getting so much information, so anytime the shade is like this, the air temperature is like this, my bladder fill tank level is this, my eyes being dry is this, oh, that when those things were together, ding, it was like this, and so now I'm in this mood and I'm having this thought. It's almost like if you've ever watched NFL or NBA, how you'll be watching, and the last time this happened was in 1974 in the third quarter, and this person, you'll be like, how do they even have that information? That's what our subconscious is doing. Oh, last time I felt like this, I was 7 and I was not safe. Oh my goodness, I am not safe now, even though I am on my couch in my living room and I'm 42. That's how it works. But if you slow down, you can use your conscious brain to say, how do I want to feel? What do I want my life to be like? I'm very clear that whatever this is, it's not this, but what is it? And then I start making choices based on that. What's going to get me more of that? It's slowing down. It's being mindful of my breath. It's getting good sleep. It's making sure I'm well hydrated. It's making sure that I'm doing an appropriate amount and type of movement for my age, my physical level, my hormone status, my sex, all these things. It's actually, have I gone out in nature? Because no, I've been watching TV or scrolling for hours and I don't even know where the time went. Maybe it's a connection with nature that we're actually needing, and nature and spirit go hand in hand. When's the last time I actually prayed and tapped in? When's the last time I actually asked myself what I wanted? I've been waiting for everybody else to ask me that, but then when they ask me that, I have like a deer in the headlights look, like, what are you talking about? We have to slow down. What is it that we want and where we want to go? Start calling that in, and you create memories for your subconscious to remember. Because then you'll be like, hey, remember when we were happy, when we were getting what we wanted? Yeah, that. That's what it's going to feel like when we get this, so we don't have to chase it away. So you'll notice your self-sabotage goes down. Again, it starts to become easier to start making choices and having what we want and creating what we want. This is how we're going to roll. This is how we have to start operating with our thoughts and emotions and seeing them as information, as thoughts and feelings, instead of who we are. When we can have that much different distance with our thoughts and our emotions and use them as information, because when we're feeling really low, oh, I'm really disconnected from myself. Let me put my hand on my heart and kind of check in. What is it that I'm needing? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional? Is it spiritual? And don't keep running around giving it words. Give it a little bit of space to come in. You got to relax to receive, and that means space. So, okay, let me just breathe and put my hand on my heart. Try that. You can also journal. And journaling must be done in a different way than we've been taught, because a lot of will journal and get it out and then reconsume it as if this is the truth. But you have to look at it and say, this is what I've been telling myself. This is how I've been explaining my situation. Is it accurate? Is it beneficial? Is there any information that's actually missing that I'm actually excluding? Because that's another thing, the subconscious, if it can't use a piece, it just won't. If it really doesn't fit something that you really want in it, it just won't. It's called cognitive dissonance. You know, it's like the biases that people have. You can give them all this information, but their mind's already made up. So have you already made up your mind about who you are and what you can achieve? Maybe it's time to start being willing to change, and you can start, and again, slowing down to speed up. Start where you are and just ask for more willingness. What would it take for me to be more willing to change? What would it take for change to be easier for me? And then you can go into those fun questions of, why is it so easy for me to change? Why do I love this so much? Why is what's happening so much faster than I thought it would? And invite new things in. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If I did it once, I can do it again. Ships come in over a calm sea. What did I say? Grow up and show up in 2023 so I can soar in 2024. Or choosing what's good for me in 2023 so I can soar in 2024. I liked, somebody put in health is wealth. I was like, that rhymes. That's awesome. I like that. It's true. So choose whatever works for you that's going to click so that you can cognitively, consciously reprogram yourself. Because it took programming the first time, it's going to take reprogramming. But it's doable, and you have everything you need already at your fingertips, including this power hour, which is now, I think, wrapped up with a bow, because I don't want to insert any new information, which is always my habit to do at the end. So I'm going to pull it together there, and also invite you again to love yourselves, which is just, I can't even stop smiling thinking about it, about how much is included that I've never seen included and brought together in this way before, to where you're going to get the nuts and bolts, the understanding, the actual things we should have been taught with in health class, or maybe you learned once and forgot, the little puzzle pieces that make things, oh, that's why. And then when things make sense, a lot of times it makes it easier for your brain to release the grip and see that it's been operating on outdated information. It didn't have all the information or missed this piece, so that you have some understanding to relax your grip. You're also going to have support from me, from a community, to actually have a shared sacred space to where it's safe to talk about these things and not be afraid that you're going to upset somebody, or that it's inconvenient, or that there's not enough time. And if you do, that's going to be information, and we're going to hold space for you to process through that. And then, what kind of exercise do I do? What should I eat if this is what I'm experiencing? We're going to talk about all the fundamentals of weight loss, healthy eating, proper metabolism, what is good movement, how you're going to know, how you're actually going to use this body as a vehicle and as a tool for awareness to let you know on the right track, off track, on track, off track. And it's the same with seeing your thoughts as thoughts and your emotions as emotions. They're just giving you feedback of when and how and what level you're operating with. And then you know what needs to be done. But a lot of times it's a lot of information to start, so we're going to make it accessible. I'm really good at explaining stuff in a way that makes it simple and able for it to click, because I just am a sponge. I like to do this, and I can talk about it, nerd out for forever, just like Power Hour right now. And I'll put it together in a way that makes sense for you, and then we actually have built-in time to practice so you get lived experience, because if you've done it once, you can do it again. So I'm going to give you a chance to do it once so you can see you do it, so then you know how to do it again. I want you in. It's the bestest program you want if you really want to know how to love yourself in and out through the entire struggle into the beyond. I didn't even know this was possible. This is so freaking great. Okay? That's your invitation to love yourselves. Message me, email me, whatever you got to do, get in contact, but get in this program, and I'll put a link to that. Also, remember, just a little shout out, the Pain Free and Calm Summit is going on. It started on Monday. It's free. You just got to give your email to register, and I'll be on next Wednesday talking about how happiness to get out of pain and into calm. So that is also a resource for you. So there is so much at your fingertips to help you do what needs to be done in order for you to be the best, most lit up, fully, powerfully self-expressed, self-loving person you can possibly be. All right. I love you so dearly, and I'm already looking forward to next week. Until then, mwah.